What's up, Jay here. Welcome to our Recreate, the channel of conscious personal evolution. And today we're going to talk about negative entity removal. Astral entities are real. In this video, I'm also going to bust one of the most persistent and damaging myths about removing astral entities. So you definitely want to stay till the end. And by the way, in case you don't know, I've got a long-standing experience with entities, nearly died in one of the attacks, managed to rescue myself and saved many other people's lives over the years, so you can trust that I reasonably know what I'm talking about. Everything that I'm going to share with you in this video has been tried and tested in real-life conditions, so you can use it with confidence. So today I would like to share with you a very powerful yet simple technique of removing an astral parasite from your energy body, and also I'm going to explain you a little bit more about entities. And I imagine if you're suffering from an entity attack right now, you can go like, oh, I don't care about entities, just give me the technique already. But I would like to invite you to resist that temptation and actually learn about them. The reason being that will help you stay safe moving forward. So not just fend off this particular entity as a one-off, but keep yourself safe on the ongoing basis. And the reason why it's so important is because right now we are literally flooded with them. And in fact, the number of them is growing all around us. There are many reasons for that, and talking about them all goes beyond the scope of this video, but one of the main ones is the insalubrious and unhealthy energy environment that we put ourselves in. In other words, in some ways we have ourselves to blame. So as you can tell, it's just common sense. Dirty, polluted environment attracts negative influences and attracts vermin and parasites. You can also read about it more in the codex. So sadly, a society that sees pictures and posters like this as acceptable will be besieged by entities, which is what we're experiencing right now. So it's one part of the problem, and as far as I can see, it's not getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse. So the best thing we can do is to prepare ourselves on how to deal with that. So here are the general symptoms of an entity attack. Firstly, your vision will become blurry for no apparent reason, and your brain will become foggy. They can attach themselves to any part of your body, but around our heads, our energy radiation is the strongest. So that's obviously the most attractive part, because most entities use humans for food. So if you feel a sudden pressure in your head, headachy feeling, and blurred vision, you can suspect that something got attached to your energy field. And also, in conjunction with that, you will start having difficulty sleeping, because an entity is interested in weakening you through depriving you of sleep, because then it's obviously easier to take control over you. So if falling asleep, just when you close your eyes, you have strange vision appearing in your mind's eye, such as demonic faces or just scary faces, spiders or snakes, you can be pretty sure that you've been attacked by an entity. Now, also, another sign is having strange, intrusive thoughts and urges that you've never had before. So, something that is completely uncharacteristic of you, and usually it's something violent, hateful, or focused towards harming others or self-harm, even suicide. So pay attention to that. If you suddenly start experiencing such thoughts, chances are those thoughts are not yours. So technically, you're not going insane. There is nothing wrong with your mind. It's just a parasitic entity is fitting those thoughts into your mind, and your mind, not knowing any better, is accepting those thoughts, because by doing so, the entity is trying to knock you out of your mental equilibrium. Because if you are in a state of fear, guilt, or panic, you radiate so much more energy, meaning that there is much more food for the entity. So this is why they do it. And also, they do it because it fits into their sense of humor. They do have a sense of humor, not a human one, but of their own kind. They're not very intelligent, luckily for us, but they do have a certain level of consciousness. So this is really important to remember, because knowing this will give you a feeling of relief straight away. You're not mad, nothing is going on, you just need to get rid of that negative astral influence. And I've seen people with entities removed changing their behavior and their thought patterns straight away. So it is possible. Not every malfunctioning in your mind is due to some mental problem. And here's another piece of good news for you. Although entities are real, not every interference that you're experiencing is actually an astral entity. Quite often, people who believe that they're being attacked by some external force are actually suffering from the whims of their own mind. Because if you're producing a lot of negative energy of some kind, so it can be an obsessive desire, a wish, a fear, a compulsion, the energy will solidify itself and will sit in your auric field, in your energy field, almost like an entity, except you've created it yourself. Now, although these can be quite problematic, but because you've created it yourself, you've got more control over it. You can uncreate and dissolve it. This goes beyond the scope of this particular video, but if you'd like to learn more, I've got a masterclass when I teach about such topics, as well as seeing entities in real life. So if you're interested in learning more, click on the link below in the comments and subscribe. And today we are talking about the external entities, about something that attacks you from the astral world. There exist different kinds of entities that can attack you for different reasons, but luckily the most common type are just energy parasites stroke leeches. And this type just feeds off your energy and messes up your thinking processes. The reason why they do that is because when you are in pain or panicking or in distress, you produce more energy, meaning that there is more food for them. And larger and more intelligent entities that can lead to overshadowing or even possession are luckily quite rare. So chances are you will never come across them. But if you do, the best course of action is not to try and remove them yourself, but call for professional help and get a professional exorcist involved. The reason for this warning is because some of them can be potentially dangerous. But the smaller ones that you will come across every day, as I said, because our streets are just too polluted, the smaller ones you can safely remove yourself using the technique I'm going to share with you in a bit. But first, I would like to share with you what not to do. So there is this damaging and confusing myth being circulated around, saying that if you are attacked by an entity and if you're being tortured, the first thing you need to do is to send them love and light. Please do not make this mistake, because entities do not understand what that means. They don't have the capacity of connecting with love. If they did, they wouldn't be what they are. So it's like talking to someone in a language they don't understand. Say, someone is talking to you in Chinese and you don't speak Chinese. So no matter what they say, no matter how profound and wise and beautiful are the things that they share with you, you wouldn't be impressed simply because you don't understand the language. So with entities, it's like that. They will probably just take that energy as food and attach themselves to a firmer. So this is the first mistake that people make. And obviously, there is a small number of genuinely lost souls that need help, but usually they find nicer, kinder ways of asking for it rather than attaching themselves to someone and torturing them. So I hope you can see the difference. Now, the mistake number 2 that comes from the same faulty system is that they tell you that if you're being attacked, you should remind the entity of the 2 rights of all conscious beings, and then it will go away. And the rights essentially come down to, oh, you've got the right to think for yourself, thanks, and you've got the right to leave me alone. And to demonstrate just how much nonsense it is, I'm going to create a real life scenario that is closer to home and easier to understand. So imagine walking down the street and being attacked by a robber, and obviously the robber is after your money. And in that situation, most people will either run away, or if they're trying to fight, they may try and fight him off. But imagine if instead you walked up to the robber and said, hey, So here's the deal. You've got these two rights of all conscious beings. And so you've got the right to leave me alone right now. And the robber says, dude, I've never realized that. Yeah, the conscious being thing is the thing. Okay, I'm sure glad you told me about that because yeah, cool. Off I go then. Well, it doesn't happen that way. So entities, although they don't have physical bodies, they're still the same kind of bandits that are trying to rob you of your life force and your mental equilibrium and your energy. So treat them accordingly. Stand up for yourself. They don't care what you believe their rights are, and they're not going to listen to you unless you are a trained exorcist. So instead, let's use this technique and make sure that they really go away. Firstly, find a place where you're not going to be disturbed for a few moments. Grab yourself a chair, sit on top of the chair, and close your eyes. Now, step number one is to imagine that you are covered with a really thick sheet of fabric, and that fabric goes from the top of your head all the way down and spreads around you on the floor. Now, step number two, imagine that you are drenching that fabric, soaking it completely in some inflammable liquid. And it can be petroleum or clear spirit or anything of that kind. But because the fabric is so thick, that liquid doesn't go all the way through. So the outside is completely soaked, but inside you remain nice and dry. And you have to make it really vivid as well. So imagine that you're feeling that fabric getting heavier on your shoulders and on your head, and obviously it separates you from the entities, so they remain on the outside while you are sitting inside covered with that fabric. Step number three, as soon as the fabric is wet, imagine that you are setting fire to the corners of it that are lying on the floor. And because you've just drenched it in an inflammable liquid, the fire spreads rapidly towards your head. And as soon as that happens, go to step four. Step number four is lifting the edges of the fabric. So it starts burning and you're lifting the edges up and you're closing them above your head with all the entities trapped inside and still burning. That burning layer is to prevent them from getting out. Now, step number five, bring that container in front of you, and every time you breathe out, imagine that the temperature inside of it increases, but at the same time, the container is shrinking in size. So you want to shrink it maybe to a tennis ball or even a walnut. When that happens, the final step is to imagine an opening in the earth going right down to the middle of the earth where there is an incredible pressure and temperature. And take a deep breath in and throw this container right in the middle of the earth and close the opening straight after. And if you did everything right, what you will notice is that your hands become warmer, your vision becomes clearer, your mood improves, and the pressure and tension in your head disappear. And if you find the results are not fully satisfactory the first time around, you can do it several times, do it again until you feel that the entity is gone. So if you're not experienced and if the entity is a bit more persistent, you may need to do it several times and it's completely normal. But for a smaller entity, and once you get very proficient, you will be able to do it just once and to make it go away. Don't worry, you're not going to kill it. It's just going to send it a message that you are not the target it is looking for. And if you have any questions, obviously just drop them in the comments below. I always read them. And I would love to hear your own stories about entities if you've ever been attacked. Now, last but not least, remember that if you've been attacked by an entity, just even once, they kind of tag you, meaning that the probability of you being attacked again increases. And so what you want to do is you want to make yourself into a hard target, meaning that you bring your energy level up and also you learn how to fight them off. But another important element to it is cleanliness. So your body, your environment, and your mind should be as clean as possible. Remember that clutter and dirt attract them. And so if you want more information, you can find it in the codex, but it comes down to watching what it is you allow into your mind and avoiding references to darkness, demonic forces, and some such, because if you call upon them, they will actually answer. So you don't want that. You don't want to manifest them in your life, meaning that if you have posters in your room, for example, with demonic faces, again, the probability of you being attacked increases. So little things like that can keep you safe. Maintain hygiene, both the physical and the mental, and make yourself into a hard target. Alright, I hope you found this mini tutorial useful. Any questions, as always, drop them in the comments below. I do read them. And remember, I've got live classes that you can sign up for if you would like to learn more and become a member of the elite spiritual forces. Thank you again for watching. This was Jay from Aria, and see you next time.